The DoYouMind.life project is intended to empower and connect women by engaging them in heart-centered conversations. In a time when we too often minimize, apologize, or ask for permission, DoYouMind.life seeks to help women own our choices, claim our voices, and rise into the fullness of who we are. The Do You Mind podcasts are conversations with women who create, innovate, and make a difference in their communities and in our world. Today's show is a conversation with Carmen White-Yanek. Carmen studied psychology and sociology at Texas State University. She is a Black woman activist, minister, singer, speaker, and writer. She has lectured on women's studies and racial issues at the collegiate level, and she has twice spoken at the Tulsa Women's March, both in 2017 and 2018. She is a founding board member of the World Stage Theater Company, and she is CEO and founder of Interview Consulting Group. Her list of accomplishments is impressive, and I am so pleased to be able to welcome Carmen White-Yanek. So we're talking today, our very first theme is getting started. And the first question I want to start with is, when you're starting any of these projects that you've started, what personally holds you back or makes you want to hesitate before you just jump in and make things happen?
That's an easy answer, me. When I think about it and overanalyze it, that's one of those things that keeps, I believe, anyone from getting started, is that just staying in the head far too often and not calling a call to action from yourself.
The very first time that I talked with you, and as full disclosure, Carmen is the project manager for DoYouMind.life. But the first conversation that I had with you, I knew I want Carmen to be on my team. Because I could tell within the course of the conversation, I could tell that you really got the vision, and you seem to feel that call to action. Because you said something at the end of that conversation, I don't know if you remember what you said to me, but that was the moment that I thought, yeah, not only do I want her on my team, like, she's going to help steer the project. Do you remember what you said at the end of the conversation?
I don't, but I'm sure you're going to let me know that.
Well, it was kind of like, this is the freebie at the end of the sermon. Something along the lines of, please stop saying you're going to start this project. You've already started. You're talking to me. That train has already left the station. And then the thing that I really remember is you said, now you're just looking for other people to catch your momentum.
And now that you say that, I do remember, and it's a necessary element to understand when you have already begun, because I think throughout history, what women have done, when you did the intro about minimization and being apologetic and asking for permission, that's one of the things that keeps us from beginning anything, is that we're waiting for approval. We're waiting for someone else to validate it. We're waiting for someone else to say, I think that that's a great idea. Well, you had already told yourself that. And how I knew that was you had legs and feet and eyes and arms and hands to the project already. You were just in the space of looking for, you were already the visionary. You were looking for people who could help support the vision that you had already cast. And I was excited about it because it fit into my own personal journey of what I believe women are looking for right now. We're looking for, across the planet, women are looking for opportunities in which they can shine unapologetically.
Yeah, and I love Brene Brown, and one of the things that Brene Brown has said is two things that hold us back, and it's kind of a double-edged coin or double-edged sword, and that is not good enough. And then as soon as we feel like we're good enough and we're starting to make progress toward our goals, it's, who do you think you are?
Which I've heard both of those things at various times of my life, from a little girl growing up in South Texas, whose daddy was in the military, and my first entrance into school was in Germany, which was not the same for everyone else. And so when we come back from Germany, I'm a little black girl in South Texas who speaks German fluently. And well, that's not the norm, right? And it wasn't the norm in my family, and it wasn't in our neighborhood. And so it was an oddity for so many people. And so many of the kids on the playground, it was, who do you think you are? And not only the kids, but also teachers as well. And so I was having to deal with, I know who my parents are saying that I am, and that I'm brilliant, and that I'm smart, and I'm a pretty girl. But these kids who I want to play with, who don't want to choose me for kickball because I speak German, which they have no connection to.
Right.
And the teachers are taking me around to show off my skills. I didn't want to show it off because I was having more pressure and stressing out as a little girl, 7 years old, stressing out around, things that I learned how to do. And so what I started doing was shrinking. There's that minimization again, right? I started shrinking and saying, okay, maybe if I'm not as smart, maybe if I don't put myself out there as much. And that particular thing followed me throughout my lifetime. I just saw different instances where I was not being apologetic. I was not being unapologetic, rather. I was being more apologetic in my approach to certain things in life.
I think it's true, no matter what our experience is, as women, we have all had some experience that caused us to hide ourselves, and that it becomes, you're very aware of your story from when you were 7, but I think it becomes such a part of our story, and often we're not even aware of what that story is. It happened so early in life, and we started covering up our essential selves so early in life that then that becomes like a filter. Our story becomes a filter, and then everything else that happens, we see through that filter, and it becomes part of the story, and it's just like a snowball, gets bigger and bigger, and we hide behind that.
Absolutely. I agree with that. I mean, the narrative, there were so many different times in my life that I can point to where it's like I still heard those kids on the playground. They're no longer in my life anymore, but I still hear their voices because it sounds just like this new person now.
Right.
It sounds just like, and so it fits into the narrative. And until I understood that I had the ability to shift my narrative, that I'm the only one with the pen, the editing pen in my hand, and I can edit whatever I want. I'm the creator of my story. But until I understood that, I kept fulfilling that kind of self-fulfilling prophecy around you're not good enough. And that's all steeped in shame, right? That I need to be ashamed of my intelligence. I need to be ashamed of my difference. I need to be ashamed of these skills because someone else is pointing at them and saying you're not like everybody else. Well, here's the truth. I'm not. I'm not.
But we look at that as a disconnection.
Absolutely.
And the disconnection, I think, is very, very closely related to shame. We feel disconnected. In your case, you were disconnected from the other kids, and the teachers, then the adults in your life were actually, or they thought they were maybe building you up, they were actually causing even more disconnection. And so that story is that if I show how special I am, then I'm special and separate.
And growing up in my hometown of San Antonio with 30 plus first cousins going into the 40s, well, I was disconnected from them too, because I was not the same. We're traveling around, we're doing all these things and all these opportunities. And so I was disconnected. And those were the people that I really wanted to play with the most, because we were at our grandparents' house every Saturday. And so I didn't want to be different.
Right.
I wanted to fit in. Right. And that's a very basic need. Maslow, that's a very basic need on that pyramid of belonging.
Well, if we don't belong, we don't survive.
Exactly.
Right. Our
exactly.
tribe doesn't take care of us. Our family doesn't take care of us. So it's extremely basic.
Yeah.
Wow.
So that that was something that I had to learn how to outgrow, because it's I use this analogy of a kiddie pool. Kiddie pools are amazing when you're a little kid. You fit inside of that kiddie pool. But I'm 54 years old right now. So sitting inside of a kiddie pool at 54, maybe not so much, and so it kind of looks a little strange. You become special for a different reason now, right? So I had to learn that when I outgrow certain situations, circumstances, and also sometimes people,
right,
that I need to, just like the same way I got into the kiddie pool is how I get out of it. I step out of it.
right.
And so I had to learn how to step out of those relationships sometimes because they no longer served me.
And that can still be, even when we recognize that it no longer serves, it can be so painful.
Mm-hmm.
So how do you summon up the courage to walk through that pain, to lean into those experiences?
I really do believe that you have to have a, Marianne Williamson calls a miracle a shift in perception. I had to learn how to perceive it differently, because the way I see it is the way that it is. And when I learned how to perceive it differently, that yes, this is painful, but I can live past this moment. Does it have to stay with me for the rest of my life? No, not unless I choose it to be that way. And so part of it had to do with therapy. I grew up in a very religious family, and I had to learn inside of therapy how to present myself in a way that felt good to me and for me, and that I had to be pleasing to me, and if other people didn't agree, I just had to say they don't agree, and keep going down the course that I had charted for myself, which was very different than people that I grew up with, and I had to become okay with that. And I think that's part of it, is a lot of times is that we're not okay with that. I call it breaking rank. When you break rank with your family of origin, or you break rank with your friends, it is costly. It's going to cost you something, but understanding that it's going to cost me something, I have to count up that cost. And am I willing to say yes to that?
Yeah.
And keep moving.
Yeah. And something that you just touched on too is, you said through therapy. And I think it's absolutely critical to have support.
Mm-hmm.
And I know that the changes, the shifts that I've been able to make, the way that I've been able to lean into things has been because I've had incredible support, mostly from other women. And that was something I kind of wanted to touch on too. I love what you said in your bio about your interview consulting group. You said your passion for creating unlikely connections led you to begin a monthly group for women, Conversations with Carmen, and that group has given birth to businesses, expansion of businesses, books, callings, and causes because you dared to say yes. So you, through your yes, I want to hear more about your yes, but through your yes, you have empowered other women to say yes.
You know, when I first started that group, I didn't know who would say yes. I didn't know who would show up, but it was a call to action for me, that I was no longer just going to think about it and talk about it with myself, talk about it with my husband, with my partner, Tim. I was actually going to do something. So I was like, where's the low challenge? Where's the low hanging fruit? Oh, my friends. So my girlfriends that I already had relationships with, those are the first people that I contacted and said, hey, would you be willing to come to this gathering of women? They said yes. And it started right there. And I said, well, can you bring one person? And what happened was, it was unlikely people. They would not have chosen to be in that group with those other women, because some people, they had never seen one another before. But what happened was that this synergy started occurring very organically, and we began to hear about projects people were a part of. We began to hear about their relationships, and where there was breakdown and where there was uprising, and where they themselves as a woman was rising, where they were finding their courage and their resilience. And I was like, oh, I'm onto something here. And it was powerful. Actually, just yesterday, in fact, at Target, one of the young ladies stopped me, who's a local designer. She's like, when are we going to meet again? I said, I've got like 35 jobs right now, but I'm going to figure out how I can do it. And I said, and the best way for me is to do it quarterly. So before April is over, I'm going to have another time of connection. But it was a yes. I had to say yes to myself first. And we're talking about getting started. How you get started is you say yes to yourself. And this is how I thought about it. What have I needed as a woman that I didn't have in my life? And I had to locate it. And I was not cultured around did I have strong relationships with my mother? Yes. My grandmothers? Yes. And even my great grandmother. Wow. And also her mother. So my great grandmother was still living when I was alive. Wow. Yeah, which is pretty awesome. And I cultivating and nourishing those relationships, but as I grew older, I had great relationships with them, but I really did not know how to make relationships with other women as I got older, because there was so much conversation. We talk about that those tapes that run in the background, those apps that are always open, and everyone is vying for attention, and everyone's screaming to you saying, can you hear me now? Can you hear me now? Can you hear me now? Like the Verizon commercial, right? And so I had to pay attention to, what did I really need? How could I be supported? And I found that when I brought this group of women together who were unlikely to be together had I not brought them together, I found support for my own vision.
Right.
They found support for their lives in various ways, and it was powerful. It was magnificent. It was really amazing, and it is that today. And to be able to see what people are doing now because of it, the launching out and the huge leaps of faith that they took to create something that wasn't before they thought about it. So It was not just my yes. My yes was kind of like a master key that opens every door, right? Exactly. And it opened the doors for other people to be able to say, you know what, I'm going to say yes too.
I think by the same token, though, we say no to each other. Mm-hmm. Unfortunately, we sometimes as women, we undermine one another. And I'm going to give a very personal example. There is a woman that I know who is also an artist and very accomplished. And I finally realized not very long ago that I was harboring some jealousy. And I was looking at her and thinking, no, and pushing her away. And there was a lot of resistance within me to her success. And when I finally recognized that, well, first I didn't want to recognize it. It's like, that's ugly. I'm not looking at that mess, right? I don't want to go there, but I did. And I finally admitted to my husband and then to another friend, okay, I have this issue with this other woman, and it's jealousy, and that's horrible and ugly. And fortunately, I was met with a great deal of acceptance from both people that I confided that in, because that's shame. When you have to look at something within yourself that you really don't want to see, and you've spent a lot of energy not looking
Absolutely.
at, that's shame. And I walked through it, and I knew it was going to be messy and not very fun, because I had to see things in myself that I really didn't like. And then an opportunity presented itself for me to approach this other woman and talk with her and heal that. And a miraculous thing happened shortly after that. We now actually have had an opportunity to work together and
Look at that.
collaborate on a project, right?
That's awesome.
The universe opens up because I let go of that resistance to her. And I recognize what a talented artist she is in her field, and I realize that there's room enough for all of us.
Every last one of us. So there's a quote that was attributed to Nelson Mandela, and it's really from Marianne Williamson, and she talks about who are you not to, and I'm paraphrasing right now, who are you not to say how brilliant you are, how powerful you are? It does not serve anyone for us to play small. And we do it all the time. And for our listening audience, we're still talking about getting started, because when we play small, it makes it more difficult for us to get started, whether that's in relationship, just like you just said.
Right.
If it's shame, that's still playing small. And it doesn't, and every last one of us has been given a particular wattage in which to shine.
Right.
Everyone's not at 150. Somebody, your highest potential is 40. Someone else it's 75. Someone else it's 60. But whatever that is, shine at the top of that wattage. And what I say is that if everyone else cannot handle it, you know what? I've got a pair of sunglasses for you to put on so that you can handle my shine. But what I'm not going to do, I'm not going to do this any longer. I'm not going to dim my light in order for you to feel better about yourself. I'm not going to do that.
Right.
And that means even when it's difficult, like you just talked about, Stacey, where it's difficult in relationship and we see someone who is shining at the top of their wattage, really what we're saying is, I'm not doing that. I want to do that, but I don't know how to do that on my own. And I see you doing it. I want to get there. And how it shows up is jealousy and all of those things. And it's like, I don't have to be jealous of you, because there is so much room. There is a tribe of people who are waiting for DoYouMind.life. They not only are they waiting for it, some people are praying for it. This is the answer to someone's prayer. This is something that they've been talking about. Where is it? Where is it? Where is it? And here we are.
Yeah.
You know, no one has to covet, be jealous of someone else's shine. There are tribes and groups of people that we are assigned to, that we come here knowing and we forget along the way by life circumstances, but they're waiting for us. We are the answer to someone's prayer on the other side of the world. And here's the thing, here's the beauty of technology. We may never see their faces. We may never know their names, but they've been waiting on us, and they've been waiting for us to say yes. They've been waiting for us to step out of the kiddie pool and into the ocean where there's no boundaries, where there's no stopping, there's no finish. They're waiting for us to do that because they need what we have. They need the medicine that's in our hearts.
We need something
and
from
we
them.
need it too.
We receive healing as well.
It's reciprocated.
Yeah.
It's reciprocated. It's, you know, even as we sit here now, there is a mutual exchange. And I don't have to be jealous about, you know, well, Stacey said 50 words. I only get to say 25. It's like, I don't have to do that. I can be in the joy of what you're bringing to the world. And I will tell you straight up that what you're bringing the world, you have brought to me. And for that, I'm so eternally grateful. And I mean that with everything in me. I'm so grateful because it turns something inside of me. And I represent myself, but I have 2 daughters.
Right.
And they have friends,
right.
And they have friends, and they have moms, etc., and aunties and cousins and all of that. And that's the power of this touch.
And I have 2 daughters also, but every time I talk with you, I see that energy reflected back. And it's reflected through your experience. So that's the hope for this project, is that I can share my experiences, and those are my experiences, but it touches something that's kind of universal. And no matter, I hope that the project will reach a woman in West Texas and it'll reach a woman in India, and it'll reach another woman in Bangkok, and it'll reach someone in inner city Chicago, and each woman will have her own experience. And yet there's something relatable, I hope, in every story that's shared. We can all relate to the difficulty of getting started with a project.
Absolutely.
We can all relate to next month is going to be about creativity, and the month after that is about time. And we can all relate to the difficulties that we have in creating and in scheduling and
the lessons that we've learned, that it's not all been a negative experience, but to be able to take that experience and say, where's the juice in that? Where's the gold in that? I know there are diamonds in that. I know that, and we spell diamonds over here, DYMIND, just in case you wanted to know. But where are the diamonds? Where are the diamonds inside of that? And when I find that, that's the thing that it never leaves my life. This project, once I step into it, it never leaves my life. If you've ever been inside of an ocean, you've ever put it, that moment never leaves your life. It's something about looking out into a sea and not seeing the finish, not seeing the end, and it just keeps going. It just keeps going. Yeah. And that's the thing. I pray, I believe, and I hope that this project circles the globe so many times, just circles the globe from heart to heart, mind to mind. And then there's a call to action. What can I do? How can I vote for myself and say yes?
How can I show up?
How can I show up?
Showing up in the world and being absolutely the best you that you can be.
Absolutely.
And that is what the world needs for healing. It's what we need right now, and we need so much of. Carmen, I thank you so much for having a conversation with me today. I always love talking with you. It's going to be incredible working with you, and I'm just so looking forward to it, and so looking forward to sharing with all of our audience through the project DoYouMind.life.
Thank you so much for having me, Stacy. This has been my absolute joy and delight.
If you have enjoyed listening to this podcast, we invite you to subscribe or, better yet, become a member of the DoYouMind.life community. Members are invited to join the conversation on our discussion page, and they receive a monthly membership box intended to connect them with the monthly theme in a variety of ways. Please visit www.doyoumind.life/membership to learn more. Thank you for listening. Program note. In reviewing my conversation with Carmen prior to airing, I discovered that several times I had used the minimizing language, I hope. I had made bold declarations of my intentions for DoYouMind.life, then I diminished them by adding, I hope. I was tempted to ask Michelle to edit that out, but then another team member, Kathleen, said, no, leave them in. It's real. It's transparent. You're not perfect, so your audience should hear that you struggle too. I do struggle to change my paradigms, and I am so fortunate to have team members who get it, who remind me of my values and hold me accountable to them. To my team and my friends and family who support me in the DoYouMind.life project, thank you.